Welcome to Rooted and Rising, a soulful podcast hosted by Dr. Cheri and Ellice Boone. Join the conversation as Dr. Cheri and Ellice explore the transformative power of holistic healing from the inside out. Together, they guide listeners through the deep work of reconnecting with their roots, uncovering the unconscious wounds that shape us, and rising into the fullness of our higher selves. So please, welcome the hosts of Rooted and Rising, Dr. Cheri and Ellice Boone.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. Cheri, and I'm here with my co-host Ellice Boone, and we are here with Rooted and Rising. And whether you're watching us live, which we hope, or recorded, which we hope, we are on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. We welcome you. Have you ever gone to therapy and one therapist after another just to find yourself right back where you began? Maybe still depressed, full of angst, or just circling the wagons? Well, if that's you, this is a podcast for you. We're ready to dive in. Ellice, this is great, but I'm not hearing you.
All right.
There we are. Great. Welcome.
Can you hear me now? Well, I shouldn't mute my mic. Oh, thank you, Dr. Cheri. So what we wanted to do to start off our podcast is to ask our listeners to take a moment just to pause. And so if you can do that wherever you are, and it's safe to do so, just to take a couple of minutes for yourself. We want to start our podcast off this way to get centered and present. So I want to ask our listeners something to reflect on in this moment. And that is, what part of you is seeking a deeper healing? And so if you can just sit with that question internally for a moment and notice how your body responds to that question. Does it tense up? Does it feel softening? Is it curious? Just take a moment to notice how the body's responding. And now I want to lead you through a very simple breathwork practice. And this is something that we all have access to at any moment in our day. And all we're going to be doing is taking 3 very deep inhales in through the nose and out through the mouth. And while we do that, I'll give you an affirmation to sit with and hold on those breaths. So the first in-breath, again, that's in through the nose and out through the mouth. We'll start now, breathing in to the count of 4, 3, 2, 1, and out, 3, 2, 1. And on that inhale and exhale, just thinking and reflecting back to yourself, I am safe in my body. Continue your breathing at a normal pace and repeating the words in your mind or out loud, I am safe in my body. And now for the next deep inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. And with this breath, saying to yourself, my heart is open. Continuing to breathe here normally and letting that land inside of you. The idea of your heart maybe opening just a little bit more. And then your final deep inhale through the nose. Hold that breath at the top. And when you're ready, release fully through the mouth. And say to yourself, I am fully present in this moment. Allowing any parts of yourself that might be distracted, antsy, shifting around to just settle into stillness and presence. Continuing your breathing normally, and just notice what that felt like. To take just a couple moments focusing on our breath and allowing that breath to nourish ourselves. Notice how easy it was, and notice any subtle shifts that might be happening within the body at this time. And if it feels good to you, something I love to do is finish with wrapping your arms around yourself, giving a little squeeze, and just thanking yourself for taking that moment and for taking this next few minutes and time to explore a little deeper into your internal landscape and come home to yourself. Thanks for being here. When it feels right, you can flutter those eyes open and take in your surroundings with a soft focus. Well, thank you for taking just a moment for yourself. Thanks, Dr. Cheri, for joining in that little practice with us.
Thank you. I feel so much better. And like you said, so much present and more present, and I just love it.
Mm.
And this is what really makes me excited about this podcast is hopefully we can use this time as being present. And I feel honored to be joined with Ellice Boone, to know a little bit about her. She is a certified psychedelic guide and an integration coach. And we're going to talk about both these topics probably a lot in detail as we move forward. She has educated herself in a variety of modalities that work and play into the integration. And that is IFS, internal family systems, which we will probably talk about, EFT, tapping, and as you can see with the breathwork, somatic experiences. And so it's she's very talented and has done her integration inside out work. I can guarantee that. And so her capability of holding like space for deep transformation is and connection, being like grounded and honest and just authentic, has served her well and her clients well. I think you'll pick up on her compassion. I think the tools that she offers are like she just makes it so easy to be able to normalize life. And as she weaves in the life we have, the nature immersion, like I said, the ceremonies or rituals such as breath work that she did. All this reconnect us to our bodies, to our minds, and to our spirits. And so, welcome, Ellice. I'm just glad to have you here and the wisdom that you carry within you.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to cry. What a sweet introduction. Dr. Cheri, it's such an honor for me to be with you. We've had the chance of working together on every sort of format. We've both worked for each other and with each other, and we've worked in helping clients together. And that's such a beautiful blend of the two of us. So thank you. I'm obviously inspired by you. First of all, since that was such a lovely introduction, I need to say a few things and brag on you just a little bit. You have been, which is crazy, doing private practice clients with marriage and family therapy for almost 40 years, which blows my mind.
Blows my
Um,
mind.
but yeah. What's incredible about that, though, is that you have never lost your passion for your work and your zest for always being a student. And I think that that's what's driven you in such a way that you're able to truly explore all of these new modalities. So, in your practice that you've had for this long, you've learned so much and you've honed in all of these other tools and skills to help your clients have not just talk therapy, but way beyond like true healing, true inside out, as you kind of coined it, inside out healing. And I really admire that about you. I think what you have is a blend of psychology, and then you blend that with these alternative healing modalities. A few things that you do that I'm really in awe of are the EMDR. I think that's a really powerful tool that has helped many of your clients that you've shared with me. You've helped people with PTSD, complex PTSD, childhood trauma, different life transitions, and you've used hypnotherapy, which I think you have your doctorate in hypnotherapy, which is incredible. You've also used somatic integration, which obviously for me, the body and the soma, bringing that into our work because it's not all just here. It's obviously connected here. The body keeps the score, as we both enjoy that book very much. And it truly does. And so helping our clients to not just release the trauma from their minds and work through those things on a mental level, but also somatically, is really giving them a holistic approach. I think you told me that you started A Place to Turn in 2000, so 25 years ago. And now you've recently, in the last few years, opened Alternative Place to Turn. And that is sort of integrating all of these different types of modalities so that people can have this inside out holistic approach to their healing. So I'm very inspired by you. You're also an author. She's done it all, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for inviting me to be on the show with you and to, yeah, just do what we do, which is listen and talk to people about their healing journeys and hold that space. I'm so excited to get started and dive into more.
Thank you, Elise. That was very sweet, and I do have a real passion for probably people and the work, and my whole goal with Alternative Place to Turn, because why do that when I already had a place to turn, and is to captures people's attention that they're the master healers, and so I'm hoping that as we share our experiences and what we know, that others will capture the glimpse of this. And so thanks for introducing Alternative Place to Turn.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to ask you, for our listeners' sake, what inspired you to create this podcast? Because you were the brains and the motivation behind this. So what was your catalyst?
So to back up, to go back to where why I have a doctorate in hypnotherapy versus clinical psychology or SID, and moving forward in that line of thinking was because I recognized, and I think it was an inspiration that came to me. I truly feel it was inspired that the true healer is within each of us, and it goes beyond the four walls of therapy. So it's and this is where the rooted and rising we'll talk more about what that's about, but it starts within us, and then we're a community, and we're a society, and we're a world. And so how do we do that inner work and then expand? And so and the first stop is maybe this podcast is it's my way to get out of the four walls of the therapy room, and with our learning from one another, and the guests that we bring on, because I don't know all at all, but I do recognize, and I believe I do know, we need each other to lean on as we heal within, and then that there's unicity with that, and the podcast is about this. And so hopefully we can learn from our viewers, and hopefully even viewers will say, hey, I have something to offer and I'd like to be a guest, and because I really feel that community spirit.
Yes, I
So
love
that was the
that.
reason for that, and sorry I interrupt you, but healing, I feel like it's now, because healing should have happened yesterday. And with a pandemic, it probably woke a lot of us up, and recognizing the residual effect of isolation and watching people regress in their own development and connection with their bodies, because it scared us. The virus scared us with our bodies, and one another, our community fractured because we became scared of one another, and so everything about, so we couldn't ourselves, we couldn't trust each other, and so it was heartbreaking. And this tells me that therapy requires more than talk. And so we need, my goal is for, what I've witnessed so far with Alternative Place to Turn is the profound transformations that people have been making. They truly been able to feel seen, supported, and empowered. And as that little bit happens, they are and they tap into that inner healer. They remember. It's like it's nothing that really is happening from the outside in. They remember the power they are, who they are, and what they're about. And if we talk about what we all remember, I think that can be powerful. So that's the
Mm.
hope.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's so true. It's about community, like you mentioned. Coming together as a community helps us to know that we're not alone. We're not alone in our pain. We're not alone in our healing journey. That someone out there is on a similar path. And as humans, we need that. We need that reassurance, and just to feel not so isolated. Like you mentioned, the pandemic really put a magnifying glass over those feelings, those intense feelings of isolation. And yet here we are post pandemic, right? And we still are feeling the effects of it. And as a society, like you said, it was fractured. And so we are still kind of feeling all of the remnants and residue from that trauma that we all experienced as a collective. And so all of our own internal stories and traumas are there. And yet we also experienced a collective trauma together. So there's a lot of healing to be done. It's definitely needed. There's no question.
Right. Right.
I'm checking my
Right.
notes here because I think I wanted to bring up too that one of the reasons for this podcast is the building community, but also raising awareness that there are more options out there, that it doesn't just have to be, expensive talk therapy. And that's why we wanted to do a podcast, because this is free information that we want to share with people. We want to serve the community in that way. And so we want to give people ideas of alternative methods they can seek out, and we want to give them actual practical practices and guidelines of things they can do themselves in their own homes to help with their mental health, help with getting in touch with some of these underlying traumas and emotions, and help work through, as you said, they are their own healers. It's just remembering that, knowing that we have everything that we need inside already. So this is so important, and this is what drew me to joining this podcast with you, this desire to serve and share all that we've learned on our own journeys, and to inspire others to seek out alternative healing methods for themselves. I love that.
Well, thank you. I'm that, and I love that, how you shared that, bringing awareness and being in a community, and and recognizing the power we have as we um, own own who we are,
Mhm.
and then celebrate who we are, and then use our use that to be the creators that we are. And so I think that if all of us, including anyone that's watching this, all of us can recognize that, then the power of what I interpret as love and joy override everything that in life, and we can find those golden nuggets even in the hardest times. So
Mhm.
I feel like that is what Rooted and Rising is about.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that next, because we kind of came up with this name and it just hit for both of us. So can
We
you
did.
just elaborate a little bit more on the name Rooted and Rising, and what does that mean to be rooted, and what does it mean to rise?
Um, so rooted, it is, it's this is where it begins with you, with me. It is the grounding. We can just ground into what our truth is, what our authenticity is, what our narrative, our story, in mind, body, and spirit, how it comes out in our voice and our essence. And so it's just really reclaiming what may have been lost, or what is fractured, or what but you've never known how to express, or felt permission to express, because unfortunately, life is messy, and we get messages from the outside in that maybe we don't have a place here, and that is a misnomer. That's a lie. Everything is purposeful. So rooting helps us remember this purpose to us. And then rising is like I talked about, going outside the four walls of the therapy room. I call it cosmos. Going in the cosmos. It's recognizing how big each of us are, and if we will expand ourselves, and like a tree, the roots, as it grows, it goes up, and the branches expand, the leaves create, if it brings fruits, flowers, seedlings, that's all sharing the joy. It's all reclaiming your own joy. It there's that creative, it's a awakening. So the rising is we're waking up and reawakening, because I feel like we just need to remember. This is not a place we've not been. We're not creating something that isn't already. We're just bringing alive what may be dormant or squelched, or we've been conditioned to believe doesn't exist.
Hmm.
So that's what
Yeah,
it is for me.
thank you. That's such a good description.
But you
And
helped
I
me with this. This envision is part of you. So I'd love to hear what you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I absolutely agree with everything you just spoke to. And I'd say one of the things that drew me to the name, well, first off, I named my business Rooted and the work with integration with people. And so of course that word is really special to me. And I thought right away, my vision was, oh my gosh, this is us. I'm rooted and you're rising. And it just made so much sense. I think that it really describes kind of the work that we do with people out in the world. And I'd elaborate on that in the sense that the work I do is very earth-based and very grounding into your body and into the connection with the earth. I really try to help people heal stored trauma in the body by using all these different practices and then integrating that into themselves and their daily life so that the healing can last. And I feel like you bring this like rising energy. You're a light. And you have, like you said, cosmic. That word makes me think of you every time. But you hold like this expansive vision for your clients, something that's much greater than just the small picture. And I think that is more of a focus on like soul level transformation. It's not just what's happening in this moment, but like what's happening in your soul for the future. And that vision for them is really inspiring, and it creates a deep level of work that maybe they wouldn't access otherwise. So I think we're just such a balance together. You know, we have this rooted here and this rising. It's like embodiment and expansion. And so that's who we are together. And so it was just the perfect fit.
I love it. I love it. So I want to go more into this. So let's do that in just a minute. We're going to take a break for our sponsor right now.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Hi, welcome back to Rooted and Rising. As we were saying before the break, Ellice was sharing really her vision, our vision of Rooted and Rising. And it was a shared vision, very much so. We're meant to create space that offers deep integrative healing, just talking on the show, so that that people can recognize, all of you can recognize and honor the whole person that you are in mind, body, and spirit, and coming together. That unification can begin a process of what we call integration. Healing happens when we do integration. We can gather knowledge all we want, and I call it knowledge monging. But it kind of stays up here in our head, and our brain can be really smart, but our mind can still be a void. And so the goal here is to integrate it in the mind, body, and spirit, because as Ellice said, we store the unfinished business in our body. And it creates dis-ease of all sorts. And we cannot be spiritually well let alone spiritually awakened, if we have a stinking thinking and a sick body, we can't get very far. And so when we start integrating this joy and love through honoring ourselves and tapping into our inner healer of what we already know, and then we remember, it can be pretty magical. And so rooting into that, and I my first book, I guess my second book, Heal Your Trauma, Heal Your Marriage, is 7 steps to root, rebound, and rise. And in that, my thinking then was the rooting. We kind of begin with the pseudo self. We don't know who we are, and then we have to rise through step by step to recognizing and remembering the higher self. And that is the rising. So you go another way of looking at this, going from the pseudo self and rediscovering and reawakening that higher self, and that is the integration. And then we have the capacity to reach out and embrace others, and recognizing that the community support, it enhances our life, and it's meant to be part of our lives. We're meant to have human experiences. And so just a recap of what we talked about, why rooted and rising is so important.
Thank you for sharing that piece too. I so agree. I'm all about integration, and that's kind of a catchword nowadays, but the importance of it can't really be argued because, like you said, we can have an experience, but how far does that experience go into our daily lives? So it's those small daily practices, those small steps of becoming the healed version of ourselves, not just knowing how to heal or knowing what our trauma was, but really implementing that into our lives. So, yeah, that's definitely a buzzword that we will talk a lot about in this podcast for sure. And we'll share, especially when we have guests, we'll share a lot of stories about how those guests personally went through healing, transformation, integration. What are the real life tools that they use to help them through? And that's what I think will be really powerful for our listeners to really hear those experiences. Which, speaking of those experiences, I think it would be great to share a little bit of our own personal stories and experiences. So maybe Dr. Cheri, you can start and tell us a little bit more, a glimpse into your healing path and what you've gone through and how that shaped who you are today.
Well, I probably was the perfect example of living in denial. And I began life with a Pollyanna perspective. It was great because it's always positive and optimistic. But ignorance is bliss. I was one of them. And so my journey began with really as a sacred journey. I have to say it's been inspired the whole time. And in recognizing maybe I've been blessed with the gift of really having an inner calling to drive me to wake up and really reawaken, and recognizing that my early years, there was trauma, there was struggles. I witnessed, I experienced a lot more omission than commission experiences, but that really shaped my identity and shaped my relationships, and in so many ways muted me and dimmed my light. And it's everyday life can be and so normal, but is almost more the subtle things that unintentionally are done to a person that can dim their light. And that would have been more what I did. And then I with these inner promptings that I didn't really understand, but never quit, this inner knowing that didn't fit with my family, but and they pretty much probably annoyed them more than anything. I couldn't shut it down. You get, like, once the mind's expanded, it can't contract. Unknowingly, I feel like I kind of was born with an expanded mind that I couldn't contract, so I couldn't fit a round peg in a square hole. And so I went on a learning journey, and so I think I really did have leaned on my strength and my resilience and my curiosity. And then and that leaned into really becoming, being feeling called to be a healer. And through the mentors I saw, I thought, okay, I'll become a therapist. And to be honest, it was almost like someone was had a hand on my back and pushing me forward. I didn't think I was going to feel, because I wanted to do my own therapy. I wasn't going to I didn't feel like there's really purpose for therapy. I felt like it was a calling, and it was really curious. I was really interested for me because I really didn't understand even what the field was. And that's the same thing that happened with hypnotherapy. I was working with a client, and it was my impression this client needed hypnotherapy, and I had no idea what hypnosis was, what hypnotherapy was. It was a foreign land. And when I dived in, I realized, oh, this is such sacred ground. And you can't in course, you can't take 100 hours. You have to really, really dive in deep. And so that's where my journey for my PhD came in, and then all the extra trainings and certifications I've had after that, and started getting really understanding that the inside out healing is such a sacred place, a magical place. And this is where true healing happens. So then the next journey of EMDR was kind of correlated with hypnotherapy, so it made sense to me. It's still wiring the brain, it's still going to that, inside out healing. And then the magic of psychedelic assisted therapy, getting certified in that was like mind blowing, because a lot of people could break barriers, with ketamine to in the right setting with integration, that the blocks of blocking them from even engaging in hypnotherapy, engaging in EMDR. Sometimes trauma in the body is just too tightly wound up that it can't even get to those places. And this is another way. Again, all these things are just tools, but they are inside out tools. And for me, unknowingly along the way, my healing, I realized this is my healing path, and this is going to wake me up. And so I started to exploring that for myself, to really wake up what I knew was there, but couldn't really figure out how to appreciate and undim my light and bring my light out. And so hopefully I'm still feel like that's a process in progress, and I'm on it. And every step is a healing step. And this is why, at least you responded, you commented on my ever journey of learning and exploring. And I really believe that I don't want to be a knowledge monger, but I want to be integrated, gain integrated wisdom. And doing that, you have to give back. And so I'm hoping that in my clumsy way, as I share the things that I, have learned along the way in my own journey, as well as with my clients, because they've been my greatest teachers. And I have to tell you that I have that knowledge I gained from them, and witnessing the miracles they create in the therapy room as well as the alternative therapy room, have been life altering for me. And so to honor them as well, I feel the need to give back, and this will help me grow selfishly even more so, and hopefully selflessly others.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. That's so beautiful. I absolutely agree with you that I learned so much from my clients. I feel like every client who's come in with their story and worked through their own transformation, they are medicine for me every single time. It never fails. So it's beautiful to see that your clients were really what inspired you to seek out these different modalities. Like, oh, they're needing something more here. Okay, how do I facilitate that? And then you did. And then it kept going from there. That's a really just a beautiful illustration of how passionate you are about your clients and helping them actually find the roots of what they're looking for and truly heal, truly dig those things up and expand into the best versions of themselves. Such a testament to how much pride you take in your work and how compassionate you are with your clients. So that's amazing. Thanks for sharing all of that.
But with that, I'd love to hear about, um, I feel like your own journey,
Yeah.
because you've had your own journey.
Yeah, I've had a journey. Well, I know at some point we will probably give more in-depth versions of our stories. And I'm sure that would be nice to therapeutic for each of us to like really share deeply. But just to touch on some of the things I've experienced in life that have attributed to where I am now, regarding trauma, I would say I experienced sexual trauma, religious trauma, abuse, physical, mental, as I was growing up into my late teens, early 20s. Um, and after that, I had a very deep healing process that I did start with talk therapy, and I found that very helpful. But I did always have this feeling that I wasn't getting to the root of what some of these things were. And a big piece for me was letting go of anger and being able to truly forgive the people who had hurt me. And I knew that I couldn't carry that. I'm not the kind of person who can walk around this world carrying anger. It's so against my nature, and it was weighing me down physically. You said about dimming your light, and I would say my light was almost out at a certain point. And when I was in that dark place and I felt like there was no coming out, um, I turned to different practices that I had learned as a child, like writing, simply journaling, free writing. And that was a really powerful tool for me to express myself and then go back and read so I could really reflect and understand more what was coming out of the subconscious versus what I would tell the therapist when I was in a session to, be the star student and make progress. So that was something that kind of tipped me off to, oh, this journey is a lot deeper than what I'm giving my therapist, and there's more here to explore. So that was one way. And as I moved through those pieces and learned to forgive and, bring in more love, it really helped me to also come to a place where I could seek out different modalities and support throughout my community. And so I think that for me, community also became a huge piece of my healing journey. Reflection with other people, witnessing by other people. And that told me that this work of creating community, creating reflection is really important and pretty much necessary for a healing process. I know that we have to take a break, sponsor. So if we want to come back to this, I can dive into the rest.
We'd love to. We'd love to. See you in a minute.
Master of words, powerful player. What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Hi, so we're back and just continuing on a little bit more about my personal story. So I had gone through the journaling, the therapeutic practices. I started to find meditation as a way to tap into deeper layers of emotions and found yoga through just going to classes and discovering that there were parts of me that were storing these traumas in my body. And through yoga and meditation was able to release some of that trauma through my body, which was a fascinating and new sort of idea for me. And it opened the door for many more things to come through. Um, Later down the line in my late 20s, early 30s, I had a whole stint of my husband's family dying by suicide. And so that created deep grief within our family. As well as just within myself, trying to manage my husband's pain, my own pain and loss of this tragedy. And that inspired me to seek even deeper healing for myself and for the family. And I think this is what eventually led me to the idea of psychedelic healing in a therapeutic way. And so sought out some alternative methods of psychedelic healing. And that is definitely a whole podcast in itself. What I experienced and the incredible realizations that I came to, and the way I was able to release from my spirit, from my body, from my mind, not only my own traumas, but traumas that I found were stored from generational trauma that I was carrying in my system. It was truly incredible and almost impossible to really explain, but it was life changing and it transformed everything that I am. When you say the inside out, the way that I talk to myself now is completely different than the way I talked to myself 15 years ago. And I attribute that to those psychedelic therapies and the integration afterwards. So that sent me on this journey of exploration, how I could help others with these types of traumas, the grief that they're carrying, the generational trauma that they might be holding in their systems, and how those can be released in different ways than I thought were ever possible. And it's been such a journey, and I'm very grateful to be on the other side of that deep, dark place, but to still be on a path, continuously on a path of learning and discovering and implementing things in my lives to, keep regulating me and keep me the best, healthiest version of myself today. So, yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
that's in a
That's very,
nutshell.
very dear. That's very dear. I love it. I love it. And
Mm,
so, and I feel like it's just a great epitome of what I like the process that
mm,
that is really needed today. We are in a, the world is aching, and we're also, I think we're a brighter people, and whether it's, the world is smaller, we have access, whether it's the internet, AI, but also there are a lot of great people who are there's great people who are suffering, and there's great people who are evolved. The evolved people are more evolved, and unfortunately, I think some of the suffering are more suffering. And so this is why I feel like Rooted and Rising is so imperative right now and so important. And you're just mapping out how you work that process. And I do think it's the Rooted includes, which I'm glad you touched up on that, the ancestral healing. Science is showing, National Geographic just came out, a couple months ago, that how there's proof now that we carry trauma in our cells of our body, multi-generational trauma. And the memory, we're balls of energy. The memory, it carries on. So the root, it goes really deep into the core of the earth, and cosmic that way, and then what our potential of getting, I just feel like the psychedelics have helped, the experiences with the integration helps understand the expansive energy that we are, and we can um, how we can reach one another, across the universe and maybe across the veil. And so there's so much here to talk about, and you've kind of like touched upon that. You did all that in a very, through that inner work. And so there's nothing impossible with that, inner work. And there's nothing, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. And so the traditional methods, like the talk therapy, is so good. I've done it, for almost 40 years. I love it. I still love that work. And at the same time, those are ready for more. I want that available, and because I can't like I said, unknow what the experience that I've had with those modalities, and the ones close to me that I've had, along with my clients. And so that just changed you as a person.
mm,
And so I feel like if we said anything with Rooted and Rising, is that we can offer hopefully a safe hour where
mhm.
they break, feel a little bit of healing, and grow. That the people are, everyone, our guests are people that maybe we have time where we can have call-ins. We're going to hear you, and that together, courage can be the fuel to rise, and then recognize what expansion really is like.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thank you for saying all of that. And I think that this is what we're trying to create with this, like you said, a safe space. Um, Take an hour out of your time and tune into yourself, check in with yourself, maybe learn something. We're not going to tell you that we have all the answers. We're constantly on a path of learning ourselves, but We're here to ask the hard questions. We're here to offer tools that you may have never thought of. And we're here to witness and walk with you on this healing journey. So this is what we're here for. This is what we're about. And we're excited to get to know more listeners. We're excited to bring on some incredible guests who have beautiful transformational stories to inspire you and help you to know that you are not alone on this journey. And there's so much support available to each of you. So thanks for joining on our first episode. We did it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. We're excited, and we hope to see you again.
Yes. So until next time, stay rooted
and keep rising.
This has been Rooted and Rising with hosts Dr. Cheri and Ellice Boone. Through honest conversation, clinical insight, and creative reflection, Dr. Cheri and Ellice will empower you to reclaim your voice, your vitality, and your vision. This podcast is not about quick fixes. It's a return to deep knowing, gentle unraveling, and lifelong integration. Tune in each week, Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern.